generally, our proposal is legally robust and fully in line with the EU and public international law. The assets are not seized, and the principle of sovereign immunity is respected. Let me recall also that Russia's central bank assets held in the EU, including in central depositories such as Euroclear, are immobilized in line with the EU sanctions member states have followed since the start of Russia's illegal war of aggression.
EU invokes emergency powers on frozen Russian assets. EU MP warns of credibility damage amid tussle with own bloc members. EU wants to compensate damages for Ukraine using Russian assets.
190+ billion Russian assets at stake. Will Putin let EU touch the money?
A major financial war is brewing between Russia and the European Union. Frozen Russian assets worth more than 190 billion euros locked up inside Europe are at the center. Now, Brussels is tightening its grip. On Friday, the EU invoked emergency powers and froze the assets of the Russian central bank indefinitely. It invoked Article 122 of its treaty to override the vetoes from Hungary and Slovakia, known as pro-Russia EU states, and bypass the European Parliament. Brussels says the goal is clear: to force consensus on using Russian money for a so-called reparations loan for Ukraine. However, cracks are now widening within the bloc. A European Union Member of Parliament, Fernand Kartheiser, issued a blunt warning. Kartheiser, an MEP from Luxembourg, spoke exclusively to Russia Today, or RT News.
He said the EU's move is legally questionable, economically dangerous, and institutionally damaging.
He further added that the EU's move is legally questionable and will have a lot of impact. The MEP also said that the EU's move will affect smaller and medium-sized countries with the sidelining of Hungary and Slovakia. Kartheiser even warned that by doing so, the EU is prolonging the war in Ukraine. Belgium, the country holding the bulk of Russia's frozen assets, is also sounding the alarm. Out of 210 billion euros frozen across Europe, nearly 193 billion sits inside Euroclear, a Belgian financial clearinghouse. The money was frozen under sanctions that the EU imposed on Russia over the war it launched on February 24, 2022. Officials warn that stealing money from the Russian central bank would shake the foundations of Europe's financial system. Brussels said a forced grab could spark capital flight, scare off global investors, and leave Belgium exposed to massive legal retaliation. Hungary and Slovakia, too, are breaking ranks, urging the EU to step back from seizures and return to diplomacy instead of escalation. The European Parliament is meeting on Friday, which would allow EU leaders to decide how to use Russian central bank assets to support Ukraine financially and militarily when they hold a summit next week.
We can expect that Russia will continue to launch speculative legal proceedings to prevent the EU from upholding international law and to pursue the legal obligation for Russia to compensate Ukraine for the damages it has caused, putting forward solid guarantees for Belgium and also financial institutions in our proposal. But from Commission side, we are open to work further and see how to further accommodate Belgium's concerns, and this work is ongoing as we speak.
It's an obligation for the European Union to deliver on financing for Ukraine one way or another. So the job is to make sure that we deliver on that, and I think all member states are highly aware that if we are not able to deliver on that, that comes with enormous consequences for Ukraine, but indeed also for Europe, because we already feel the effects of the war. I think we have to foresee that the effects will be even more severe to European security if we are not able to help Ukraine.
Yesterday there was an agreement, at least in Coreper, for a more clearly defined immobilization of the sanctions against Russia. Do you think this definitely paves the way for an agreement on that reparations loan, and do you think you'll be able to convince Belgium? Yesterday we saw the Belgian minister a bit more open, at least compared to his prime minister.
Well, it is indeed an important step, one that we hope will be finalized today, which is to be able to continue the mobilization of Russian assets regardless of the sanctions framework. This provides additional guarantees to be able to actually use them, for example, with this reparations loan, and in this case for those Russian assets to be the ones that help guarantee the financing of the Ukrainian economy. We hope that this first step will be concluded today and that over the next few days we can also try to finalize the conditions as much as possible to ensure there is majority support for the reparations loan at next week's European Council. There will be a lot of meetings in the coming days to be able to guarantee this, and we hope we can reach an agreement because it is an extremely important deal.
They are very insistent on achieving it with the broadest possible majority. Do you consider it viable to move forward with this agreement and the loan without Belgium's support, even if the rules allow it, even if it's possible, say, tomorrow?
Well, I think that yesterday one of the things, or two things we could see clearly were practically unanimous in the discussion we had at dinner. One of them is that we all agree on the urgency of Ukraine's need in terms of financing, and therefore the urgency we have in being able to make a decision. And then also, in this case, the willingness to accommodate the concerns of, in this case, the Belgian minister or the Belgian authorities, right? I believe this is an issue on which the Commission is also working hard, and from the rest of the member states, we are aware that it is necessary to address these concerns, and we hope that this can be done in the coming days.
Meanwhile, the Kremlin calls any move to top Russian funds outright theft, warning retaliation will be swift and severe if European leaders cross that line. Russia's central bank said that it has filed a lawsuit in Moscow against Euroclear for damages it says were caused when Moscow was barred from managing the assets.
Times of India videos, your daily dose of India and the world. Global news, different views, and sharp analysis.
Pressure of expectation from your fans, your supporters.
That is often served as a backdrop for several Bollywood.
You're not a brute majority anymore. If you individually take out playwright.
Making sense of global conflicts. Tracking the new emerging world order.
Strike on Israeli military bases.
A multi-pronged.
To stay out of harm's way as Israel started bombing targets across.
Understanding changing alliances in a polarized world. Tune into TOI videos for all this and more. Click on the bell icon to subscribe and never miss an update.